Martinez. He stares at that clock as it's down to 11. It's now down to 10. Martinez still with it to his left with 8. Now a 7. Mayo steals it, jumps on the floor. It's loose. Up ahead, Steffi. Southern's got it. Tie game. Sykes for the win. Rolled in as the clock expires. Southern's bench explodes. They come onto the floor. They got to get back. But Mayo dove on the floor. Davian Sykes, I believe, has just won the game. Does run it. Max Picard staying in front of him. Loops it. Pass near the top of the key. Nabucodonosor, they're going to say the game is over. It was tipped by Max Picard, and SIU ends a 12-game home winning streak for High Point, and they get revenge on the Panthers after they came in the Banterra and knocked off the Dogs a year ago.
Welcome everybody back to Inside Saluki Athletics, which is presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. Experience the Northwind Roofing and Exteriors difference where your home's exterior is our priority. Man, what a win it was for Saluki basketball last week against High Point. And not very often this guy and his team gets a little bit of time off. But they'll be back in Banterra Center on Wednesday against UT Martin as head coach Scott Nagy joins us. Coach, congratulations on that win against High Point. And, man, how nice has it been to really get your group in a more of a practice routine here over the last week and be at home after a stretch of, man, the travel you guys have had. We've well documented that over the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's been winning that game was big just for morale and confidence, all those things, but being able to get back in a normal schedule, come back Thursday, that was basically a day off, even though you're traveling, it doesn't feel like it to your body. But we were able to practice Friday, Saturday, and then take Sunday off and come back Monday and practice. So get just into a normal routine, sleep in your own bed. The only thing we're dealing with now are finals, which are not easy. For the guys, I prefer not to play during the finals week. It makes it a lot more difficult because it is draining. They spend a lot of time. There's a lot of pressure on the grades. And it's hard to just get in here and get after them in practice because of those things. But still, it's just nice to be home.
You've been in 5 4-minute games, and what I reference that is when I say a 4-minute game, it's when you basically get to the under 4-minute media timeout, and it's a one-possession game. Nevada was your first. At North Dakota State was tied with just under 4 minutes to go. UAB was a 4-point game there, under 4 minutes to go. You've won your last 2. What has your team learned from just being in those type of moments? I mean, you can practice them all the time, Coach Nagy, but there's a big difference of being able to do it just like you were earlier this morning in situations versus actually in a game with game pressure.
Yeah, with the bullets flying, it's much more difficult to think and execute. We talked about that late in the High Point game as we've been in these games, and they haven't been. They haven't been, all of their games one way or the other have been were blowouts, and they were averaging beating their opponents by 23 a game, and so, for us to be in that moment, we didn't have a great offensive possession there late. Not that we got, a horrible shot, but it wasn't the best offensive possession. But we were able to execute and with no timeouts, and that was a big part of that play. I think the normal thing, when that ball got turned over and Mayo dove on it, would be to call a timeout. But for him to know, and we talked about that, and it wasn't that we called a timeout, we called for a review, and then that cost us a timeout, and we had to make sure that our players understood we don't have any timeouts left. And so for him to be able to react that way, get it, and for us to get the bucket there at the end was really a good job by the players.
One of the areas, Coach Nagy, that you and I, we've talked a lot really since the summer, is you've hinted at this group as a really good basketball IQ. How does the ending of the game against High Point really embody that in terms of the understanding of, hey, the timeout situation, knowing where to go, where to move that late? Because, man, when it's that late, it's just frantic. You're just trying to make plays happen.
Yeah, and for Drew to give it up, to Sykes and still have an idea, that he didn't need to just shoot it very quickly, but just get to the rim. And knowing that it's a tie score as well, and he attacked that kid, and the guy didn't want to foul him and put him on a free throw. I probably would have been better off had he. If I was them, I would say you might want to take that foul and take your chances. Just all the plays those guys made there in the last 30 seconds was excellent. We probably haven't spent as much time as I would like to on the end of the game situations, and I think that would be one of the reasons why Really, our last two possessions, we didn't get great shots, and I'm not very happy about that. But I blame myself for that, not the players, and so I've got to get them more organized in those situations.
Heading into the season, when people are like, hey, talking about your group, and if your group can reach the expectations that you guys have for it, I think there was no doubt you knew the 6 guys you had coming back were going to have to play critical roles. And you look at the 5 guys who played a lot for you last year, Coach, the only one I'm excluding is Jaheim, who redshirted. All 5 of them have improved their numbers drastically going through. I mean, it doesn't matter what metric you look at from KenPom, all those guys individually have made major jumps. What does that say about what you guys do day to day and the importance of the player development side, but also what you hint at so much, just continuity within a program and knowing what to expect and staying in one spot?
I think that's the biggest part. You know, I do think we do a good job of developing players, and I even watch some of the players that we've had in the past at other programs, and I know they're doing well and appreciate some of the things that we taught them. But to stay in a program and get the continuity, I think, is the most important thing, because you're just more relaxed, you're more comfortable, you know the coaches, you know how to help the other players. There's no reason why every one of those guys wouldn't be more productive.
Out of those guys that have come back, I mean, what Damian Mayo showed for you in that second half, I mean, 22 points was remarkable. He scored 23 points all of the second halves this year, scores 22 against High Point. And
I think in 11 minutes.
Yes, in 11 minutes. Yeah. I mean, to do it in that short amount of time, but to just make the right play, like the ability for that guy to make a winning basketball play, how can you even measure that? In your eyes, and just how you've been around, and just the really good players you've been around in your career.
Yeah, and those, you know, what he did is not normal for him, and you know, a little bit unexplainable, but it also speaks to just confidence. You know, the amazing thing is the first 3 he hit was with about 17 seconds left. He thought the clock was running down, and so he shot it because he thought he had to shoot it. And you have a different mentality when you know you have to shoot the ball. Like, it's time for me to shoot this. And, you know, if he knew there were 17 seconds left, I don't know if he'd have made that. But thinking there's 3 seconds left, he knows I've got to let this thing go. And he did. It goes in, and you know, he just exploded from there. And we were also excited for him. Obviously, for our team, we were excited. But it was great for him because he's put in a lot of work. His shot is, you know, in terms of the fundamentals, are there, and he's put in the time, and you know, to see that work pay off in that game, and then watch the rest of our guys follow him in terms of you know, he showed that courage and that confidence, and it just gives everybody else the same.
Every game is different, so it's not always, hey, you use this recipe here, it's going to work the same thing against UT Martin come Wednesday. But when I looked at your numbers and went throughout the league and compared throughout the league, you have the most guys in the league that play 40% of your minutes on your roster. I believe 8 guys on your roster have 40% or more of your minutes. Yet your highest guy, if you take the highest guy from all the other teams, is 9th out of the 11. That's Kelron. He's only about 72%. A lot of teams have guys they rely on heavily for minutes. How do you feel you've had that balance of getting the guys out there you want, but also managing minutes, managing those expectations? And, I mean, your team's different than others, but how do you feel you've been able to manage that aspect of it, Coach?
I don't know if we're trying to manage it, and I've never really played this way. I don't want to say never, man. I've coached a long time, maybe when we were Division II. I don't think in the Division I era that I've coached have I had a team quite this deep. And so I'm not necessarily trying to manage it. I think early, you know, we're trying to give guys minutes, see where they are, but guys that are playing well, they're going to get more minutes, and guys that are struggling, or, you know, there's always the possibility somebody can have an attitude or bothered or, you know, gets mopey, and so we just have a team where we really don't have time for that, and so it's been different guys every game. You know, it started out, it was Kelron really carrying us, and now it's just kind of a different guy every game, which is the best way. I love that. I think it makes it difficult to guard. But, you know, the thing, and I think even at High Point in the second half, we kind of wore them down. We were tired, but they were more tired. And, you know, we got a lot of good looks on the fast break. And so, you know, we can continue to want to play fast and wear people down.
There are many guys who deserve recognition. When you go on the road and you beat a team the caliber of High Point, it's not just one guy. There's many guys. But Prince Aligbe, I felt, really stood out, especially from a defensive standpoint in that game. And that's been an area that you guys with him have communicated, hey, this is an aspect of your game where you can impact. And it was really good to see at High Point that I thought everything you guys have talked about with him really showed to fruition that day.
Yeah, it was his best game overall. And if people just want to look at points scored or whatever, I think I just don't have any interest in that. We're looking for complete games, the rebounding, the defense in particular from him. And if he does those two things at a high level that like he's capable of, he's gonna, on our team, you're gonna score points. We're gonna play on a break. You're gonna get offensive rebounds. We don't have to run. We don't have a player that we just have to run stuff for that can't figure out ways to score. And so I don't spend any time really worrying about that. But on our team, if you want to be on the floor, guard and rebound, and then you're going to get an opportunity to score. You just will because of the way that we play, and we're pretty free offensively. We shoot a good percentage. We get great shots. So, figure out those two things, defend and rebound. We've been an okay rebounding team, not a great rebounding team. I think this could be a great rebounding team, but we're our first shot defense is tremendous, and we haven't been able to get the ball off of that first miss as high a percentage as I would like to get, and so we're trying to figure that out. But yeah, I think for Prince, it was definitely his best overall game.
The ability to adjust, I think that's always a thing. Is coaches sometimes it can be a challenge because there's a way whether you want to play specifically your style, but then if it doesn't turn out the way you hoped, you have to make those type of adjustments. That's one thing, Coach Nagy, I think that's been clear. Whether it was defensively against High Point, you guys switched a lot early. You made that change, made that adjustment, man, really changed things in the second half. How do you and your staff have those type of conversations internally of there's always a game plan that you have going into it, but when adjustments need to be made, how do you create that culture within your staff to know whether someone needs to step up? Yeah, hey, Coach, I think we maybe need to do this differently, regardless of where it comes from.
Yeah, and I think when I came here, that it probably wasn't necessarily a strength of mine. I don't like change that much, and it was difficult for me to adjust and admit, well, we just can't guard these guys the way I think we should be able to, and that would just make me mad, and then you just can't continue to do it over and over and think it's going to get better. So it's helped, I think having Hawks experience. There's still a lot of things that our whole coaching staff talks about. He doesn't just make those adjustments on his own, but eventually on defense, he is the one that has to make those adjustments. And on offense, those are the adjustments that I need to make in terms of, what sets might work or what we're doing against zone or whatever it is. So I just think, there are very few staffs, maybe none, that have two coaches that have just about 60 years of head coaching experience in college. And so I think, we need to be able to use that and not be so hard-headed that we can't make adjustments. And that's what we continue to tell our players now is, this is what we want to do. If it doesn't work, we have to have the ability to make adjustments, change things, keep people off balance.
There are a lot of things in this sport, Coach Nagy, that has changed since you got in it. But one of the areas that to me has been so nice to be around is the personalities of your guys on this roster, specifically your freshmen, where they really act like freshmen. Not that there's a stereotype for freshmen, but I remember we're in the hotel there in High Point, and we're going up, and Jalen Haynes is in the elevator with us, and he gets off, and you and Drew Steffi kind of look at each other and go, man, there's something off with that guy. We'll get him on the show here in a moment. But, look, you're an intense guy. All of you guys want to win. Hey, this is your livelihoods here in terms of what you guys do day to day. But to have those type of personalities sprinkled in of how it kind of reminds you of, man, this is kind of what it's about, to have those guys and those type of personalities in your locker room.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun team. Obviously, a lot of personalities because everybody has one. But yeah, some of our younger guys are really goofy. I would say, particularly in our sophomore and freshman class, and that's okay. I just want them. I tell them all the time, love that. But when it comes down to film work and being on the floor and going through things when it's not high speed and we need you to concentrate and talk and think things through, that's when I want to lose the goofiness. And I think, just like everybody, we have some problems with that. We can get a little goofy. And I told them that, they would probably like me to be more goofy and relax. And what I tell them is I'll relax when you take things more serious. And so until you take things more seriously, it's hard for me to relax and know that you're in this like I want you to be in it. And so as I see that, then you'll see me relax more and have more of a good time. And so that's always been the case with every team I've coached. I've always told them that. And so I think that's one of the things we're really focused on now, is just getting our guys to take everything that we do when we get to film work and on the floor. We want to have a great time, but when it's time to be serious, let's be deadly serious about what we're doing.
I don't want it to be like a similar question to what I just asked you. I think there are always teams that you scout or you look at, and they can be described as too cool. And what I mean by that is just, certain things that maybe they're just not going to do, maybe the nitty-gritty stuff that you really need to do to win. Where do you feel your group is? I know, look, you're far from a finished product. You're not going to sit here and be like, hey, we are exactly where we need to be. But are you going in that right direction in terms of the makeup of what your team is?
Yeah, one, we haven't won at the level we need to be cool and think we're great. Now, we won a big game. That's awesome. But let's not get a big head over that. And I don't have any interest in that. I don't care if we were 10-0 or whatever, how many games we played. There's just like in warm-ups and all those things, I've always asked the guys, like, as soon as you get out of your car and start walking towards the end, cool is over. Don't be cool. We need you locked in. This isn't about you. It's not how you look and all these other things. I have no interest in that. And what we do have interest in are, the tough plays. We know, like the things Mayo does consistently, we need everybody to do that consistently. And you look at that play at High Point when that ball went on the floor, their two players just looked at it, and Mayo just jumped on it. And you talk about a big difference. And so, I just don't. I have no interest in the cool, and I think that's hard. I don't blame the players. It just is part of the culture. The basketball culture now is the coolness and the TikTok plays or whatever, the Instagrams and all
the stuff you're really good at.
The stuff I don't even know how to get onto, but it doesn't amount to anything. I have no interest in the flash. I want the substance. The substance wins. The flash does not win.
Jalen Haynes, he's going to come in here after you here on the show today. Wow, you talk about the workload that a guy like him has had being a freshman, really your lone true freshman that's playing for you. All 10 of his points against High Point were in the paint, which I thought was big. That led everybody on your team in terms of points in the paint against High Point. Of him, when he's got to direct your offense, he can direct it. When he's a piece of that offense, what has impressed you, and also what he brings defensively?
Well, the one thing is he pushes the ball, probably the best on our team when it comes to him off, whether it's off a missed shot or if they score and we get it in. He's more downhill. He's more aggressive. He gives us a really good pace. I say Q is probably a little tighter in a half court with his bounce and those kind of things. But Jay really makes us play fast, and I like that. I want to play fast. He is great at attacking the basket. We all know he's a tremendous athlete, and he's good in the open floor on the ball. He still has some things to work on off the ball, and when we get in a half court, sometimes he tends to get a little funky with his feet, and instead of staying in front of the ball, he opens up. But he's going to get better at those things. The things he has that you can't teach is athletic ability. And I would say his greatest quality is just he's always in a good mood. I mean, you can't. He just is always up and in a good mood and smiling and giving energy. And it's a little bit like when he comes in and all of a sudden our break just goes boom. That's just his mood. He's a lot of fun to be around. He can be overly goofy, but I'll take that over a guy that just sucks energy out of the gym.
No question. No need for energy vampires. I know in your experience and even mine, when you're around those, it can really be a huge drain, and that's why they call them energy vampires. For your group on Wednesday, you all know, and as we have talked about, to get Saluki Nation into Banterra, you guys have to do your part and earn it on the floor. No question you guys did that on Wednesday. To be back at home, it's one of the few times you guys have been at home this year. For what it would mean to get the fans out there on Wednesday against a team in UT Martin, that's already gone into Peoria this year and beat a good Bradley team.
Yeah, I mean they're 7-2 and beat UNLV at UNLV. I mean, their metrics they're out rebounding their opponents by 10 a game. They have a very European team. They spread you out. Their bigs can shoot it. They're 4 and 5 are their 2 best shooters, and so it is like a high level European team, and a lot of people have struggled with them. And really, their best quality is their defense. They're holding teams under 40% and out rebound their opponents by 10 a game, and teams are only shooting 27% from 3, which would be normal for us. Unfortunately, but we're shooting it better here lately. I know. And we will in that game. But, yeah, I think even coming back, just more people, you can tell there's some excitement about it. They know that was a big win. And, we know there's some things going on with some promotions for the students, things like that. I think for it being finals week and all those things, it was really important for us that our fans would show up and give us some good energy.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Looking forward to Wednesday night.
Okay, thanks.
Once again, that was head coach Scott Nagy. This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, which is presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. At Northwind Roofing and Exteriors, our dedicated team brings precision and expertise to every project, ensuring your home not only looks at its best, but is also well guarded against the elements. We'll be back with Jalen Haynes in just a matter of moments. Welcome everybody back to Inside Saluki Athletics, which is presented by our friends at Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. They specialize in enhancing and protecting the external elements of your home, serving the communities of Williamson, Franklin, and Jackson counties. Give them a call today at 618-713-1381. Man, when you need some plays on the basketball court, call this guy, Jalen Haynes, freshman for the Salukis.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's been an outstanding stretch for him, but of course the team. Right now, coming off 2 straight wins, a huge road win against High Point, and they're finally back at home here on Wednesday against UT Martin. Jay Haynes, man, how's the travel been? You guys have been putting in them miles, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot, but, we're good. We're good. We just got a good dub against High Point, and, we got a tough team Wednesday.
Haynes, it's one of those things when you played basketball, and you played a long time, even though you're still a young guy.
Yeah.
You guys know when you go up against good teams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
How much special does it make last week what you guys were able to do to go on the road in a difficult environment and be able to beat a really quality team?
I mean, it means a lot. It gets the ball rolling out. We had a couple of losses against really good teams. And, High Point's another really good team. And, it was really good that we beat them at their home court. It gives us a lot. It gives us a lot of momentum coming into this next game. And, we're going to keep the same momentum going in.
Where would you say for you from when you got here in the summer, and you had a good summer, it was clear that you were going to be one of those guys that could no doubt play for this team. You've shown it throughout the year. When you go all the way back to then, what are you most proud about in your growth here in your time as a Saluki? That's a lot of time. I mean, that's a lot of practice and even games at this point for you.
I would say, my reads and obviously adjusting to the physicality, playing against bigger guys. I'm not the biggest guy out there. I'm 180, 185. So, I think that's what I'm most proud of is, just taking the contact from other players, just making the right reads from the contact and doing things like that. So
you talk about contact, man, against High Point, all of your points came in the paint.
Yeah.
You were right at the basket. How has that part of your game continued to evolve throughout this year, just in terms of knowing where kind of the hay is made for you, and you've shown the ability to make shots from the perimeter as well?
Watching film with Coach D. Red, he's been showing me the ways to attack the paint, and he knows that I'm a freshman and we're going up against senior guards and, just trying to, manipulate the defense to get to the paint. That's where I thrive the most is in the paint. So you're trying to get on a roll with that, and, yeah.
You thrive in transition, too. You really push the ball with pace, and Coach Nagy talked about that on the show today as well. Is that just kind of a natural thing for you, or has that been something throughout your career in your basketball life that's just gotten better? I mean, no doubt it's gotten better, but has that always been a strength of yours?
I mean, I think so. Playing AAU ball, it's just straight transition. There's not really any organization with play calls, but I've been playing AAU my entire life, and so that's just all transition. So I've just been used to it ever since.
Why is it a strength for you? Yes, you've played it so much, but what is about the court vision for you, knowing where guys are, knowing where to attack, where to go? Like, take our fans through just what about that part of the game you really thrive in.
I'm fast. Well, I like to think I'm fast, and I think I make really good reads. And like I said, watching film as well helps me in transition to see other players. But, I like to use my strengths and abilities. I'm a long point guard, so trying to use my speed, trying to use my vision just to, manipulate the defense in the transition.
You guys have now been a part of 5 4-minute games where virtually when you guys have hit that final 4-minute media timeout, games have been within basically one possession. The only one that was a little bit out was the 64-40 one just a little bit ago. But for you guys, which was UAB, that was a 4-point game, but still you guys had chances, got down to one possession. What's flipped in the last 2 with Little Rock, which you were on the floor in significant time, at High Point, that's different than what you guys maybe had to learn through the first 3 that you guys came up short in?
I would say, just key plays. In the High Point game, Damian Mayo, he came out smoking hot, 22 points in the second half, and, he's been, on a roll ever since. But, him in the last 4 minutes, having veterans like him, like Prince, like Rollins, like Hugh, just having players like that in the last 4, just they've had experience in the field before, so it's not anything new to us.
How important, though, is the Little Rock game for you to be on the floor in meaningful possessions and to have success in those possessions, Jalen, for you as a young guy?
It means a lot. It's just, it's experience. I'm not, freshmen normally don't get that type of experience, and with that experience, it will lead on to next year and, any other future games. But, I'll know what to do in the final 4 minutes.
Let's talk about Damian Mayo, the 22 points that he had all in the second half. I'm really not trying to be cute or anything with this question. You see him practice every day. You're around him every day.
Yeah.
Was that surprising at all to see what he did in the second half, and why?
It's Mayo. He brings a lot of energy, and he can shoot the ball really well. And he displayed that in the second half. He's just shooting the ball, and he's starting to make it. And once he made his first 2, and then the long 3 as well from the logo, that just got him on the roll ever since. So
almost from the mid-court line. It was deep. It surprised me when he took that thing, but then, man, nothing but the bottom of the net. Drew Steffi, tremendous first half for him in terms of keeping you guys in it, but then his ability, a lot like you guys have a really good ability to share the basketball and find the open guy. What have you learned from him, taken away from him in terms of his IQ, the ability to see the floor? 7 assists in the second half.
Yeah, it was a lot easier for him because, he had 15 points in the first half, and then, when teams started to close out on him and started to overhelp on him, he just dished the ball out. So, I learned a lot from that. Just, sharing the ball when you're hot, people know that you're hot, so you got to, move the ball.
How much does it, kind of building off of what we were talking about with Damian and what he does offensively, look, to ask for, now, we could count on you for 22 every night and a half, right, Jalen? I know, we'll get to that point. But outside that, in all seriousness, how does Mayo being such an offensive threat, it's now on tape. People can see, they can continue to test him, and he's going to pass that test. How does it change things for you guys offensively when he is now really a key contributor?
It spreads the floor, knowing him and his game, how he can shoot the ball, and same with Drew, it spaces the floor for everybody like me and Q to get into the paint and dish the ball out to the open shooter. So, it means a lot that he can shoot the ball.
Offensively, you guys, right now as we record this, you're leading the league in 2-point shooting percentage right now as we enter today. Creating those type of shots, you guys create a ton of shots at the rim in the 10-foot zone. What is the key for you guys offensively to generate so much activity at the rim, Jalen?
Nagy always preaches to move the ball and look inside for the bigs. The bigs are always sealing, and I like our bigs a lot. Just when they get in the paint and they seal their man off, it's an easy bucket for Jorge and Rollins and Prince and people like that. Davion as well.
Yeah, you talk about all those guys. that was an area going into the season that all of us were really optimistic about. Of, man, these guys have the potential. Now we're starting to really see it more. Prince, no doubt, had his best game of the year against High Point.
For sure.
Not that it's finished product and want to imply that, but where do you guys as a team feel you're at right now in the course of your season, Jalen?
I think we're in a really good spot, to be honest. I think everybody has a good grasp on their role, and everybody's playing their role to perfection. And sometimes you're gonna have people like Mayo come out 22 points in the second half, and I feel like anybody can go off at any night. And so finding the hot man with us is a really good thing and a really key thing for us.
Your talent is a big reason why you're on the floor. I mean, you got to have skill to be able to play.
Yeah.
But I also think, Jalen, it's been your personality. It's how well liked you are within the locker room, throughout the team. That's gotten you to this point. But I don't know if you necessarily get to that point without great people around you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And being around a team that truly, anytime you get in these type of settings, which it's great that we do a lot of coverage on you guys, but there's not very often where you get into these type of interviews and guys are like, man, I can't stand our teammates. Things are so bad. It's generally everything is always the positive perspective, but I've tried to relate it to our fans. I want you to relate it to how much fun you've really enjoyed being on this team, being a freshman in college, and how these guys have really welcomed you in and embraced you.
I mean, it's just been a lot of fun. This is one of the most fun I've had on a team. Especially with the older guys. They try to act like me and younger their age. But it's been really fun. Everybody's gotten along really well, especially over the summer. That's been we were all together. So I mean, it's been a really fun season so far.
Was talking about with Coach Nagy in the previous segment when we were all in the elevator together. You said something as we got off, and he goes, "Man, there's something wrong with that guy." Coach Nagy is a very demanding coach.
Yeah, for sure.
And as we record this, he was very demanding of you in practice earlier today.
Yeah.
But how you balance that dynamic of you do know when he opens his mouth and he's talking to you, there is something really important about it.
For sure. I mean, he's. I can kind of get on his nerves a little bit, just the way I
Just
act.
a little.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, when he talks, it obviously means something important. So just knowing time and place and when to lock in on when he's talking in practice and in games and things like that. So
what's great about having people like you though is to know that hey, there is some room for some goofiness.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be serious and you have even though you're young. How have you tried to strike that balance of knowing, hey, there can be a little goofiness here, have a little bit of fun, but you also have the maturity level to know, all right, Jalen, it's time to get going now.
I mean, I used to struggle with that, not finding, not knowing the time and place to be goofy and all that. But this season, like people like Mayo and Prince telling me to know time and place, and when people need to lock in, it's time to lock in, time to go. So and I've learned that over the course of the season. And so they've really helped me with that.
Looking ahead to UT Martin on Wednesday, this is a team that's really good defensively. Their defensive numbers are really high. They rebound the basketball at a really high rate. What has impressed you when you've seen them on film, Jalen, and what are going to be some of the biggest challenges on Wednesday?
I mean, I think their size, their point guard 6'7", so it's hard to match up with a point guard that's 6'7", that tall. But I mean, I think personally that they play. They play slow, European style, move the ball, back down, try to get you to foul and things like that. But I think that, watching film, everybody watching film, we're going to, stay disciplined and not jump on any other pump fakes and things like that. So, yeah.
You haven't had the chance to be here yet when Banterra is truly rolling and when the environment is hopping. But it is the first time that the fans get to see you guys coming off a really big win last week. What do you say for the fans of how important it is for them to get behind you, to get into the building? You guys know that you got to take care of your business on the floor.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you know that. I've done that most recently with High Point and then Little Rock before that. But to your saying, hey, come out and see us, man, and how much it means to see them pack Banterra.
I mean, it means a lot. I think, other than us playing, they're the second reason why, teams win or lose. Having, such a good fan base behind us, it shows that, it's a really good community, and, everybody cares about us, and, yeah.
And I just want to say, because I've been able to see it on the road, the reason this dude's so good on the road is, like, your dad's at every game. Your dad, feeds you everything, right?
Yeah. I love him.
You got to give Pop some love.
Oh,
man.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know, family always on the road with you, Jalen. Jalen, congratulations on the year to this point, but I know you guys also feel like, hey, there's way more to accomplish for you guys, and really excited for Wednesday, man. Appreciate the time.
Sir, appreciate you.
Once again, that was Jalen Haynes here on Inside Saluki Athletics. A big thank you to Jay Haynes for coming on, and of course, head coach Scott Nagy. Tip-off on Wednesday night will be at 7 o'clock. We hope you join us with our pregame radio coverage starting at 6. This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, which again is presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors, guarding your home's legacy from peak to foundation. It's what we do. With over 40 years of combined experience, Northwind Roofing and Exteriors will get the job done right. Call today at 618-713-1381. Talk to you Wednesday night, Saluki Nation. Go Dogs!
Go Dogs.